So in Illustrator, here are some of the features of the character panel for you. I'm going to type a word. Okay, I hold down Shift to make things proportionately larger. So these are all the fonts that are just going to be installed on your computer. You're going to have less than me, and different fonts more than likely. All of these fonts, there are a lot of these fonts, there's a parentheses right after the font name, and that's how many variations are within that family. So obviously Acumen Variable Concept has 91 variations. That's a humongous family. A lot of them just have a few. Like here's Arial. I'm sure you have Arial on your machine. So if I want to make is bold, I just use this drop down, right? And black is darker than bold, and you can start to make some hierarchy that way. You might even be able to find some fonts that have something, so like narrow would be condensed, so you can kind of see as I scroll through it how it changes. And some of these typefaces, like obviously this one, are going to have like very thin, here, like light is going to be lighter than regular, so you can see there's extra light. You can choose a font that has the type of weight style that you were looking for. And then also some of these fonts are going to have like a wide version versus the regular, and then like condensed. And this one even has like super condensed. So I would start with a font that is closest to what your sketch looks like to start making your job a little bit easier. Another thing you can do is, if you need to manipulate the text further, one thing, if you want to manipulate each individual letter, it's easier to just click and add each letter individually. Because this way, I can move each letter and make it whatever size and rotation that I would like it to be. And I can make them different weights or even different fonts if I needed to. And you can type a number in these text boxes, right? Or you can just click and drag, whatever is easier. If I want to flip something, like reflect it, that's up under Object, Transform, Reflect. And if you have preview on, you can see how this one flipped it sideways, and this one would flip it upside down. So whatever you need. So now that guy's backwards. If you need to manipulate a font even further than just what you can do with it as text, you can change it to a shape, and then you have even more ability to alter it. So I'm going to turn this piece of text, which has an underline, to a shape by going up under Type, Create Outlines. Now there's no longer an underline under it. There's a blue stroke around the whole thing because it is now a shape. And if I use my white arrow, my direct select tool, and I click on that shape, you can see all the points, and I can manipulate any of those points. If I just click a point and drag it, I can manipulate it like that. If I click and drag to select a whole area, and I use my arrow keys, I can kind of manipulate it like this as well. If I click into the shape, onto the shape, like edge, not in the center of the shape, but on the edge of the shape, you can manipulate it like you would your arrow keys as well. So maybe I want it like really long, And then I can always click on the edges of the shape, oops, to grab these little handlebars and then kind of fix the curve of the E to try to make it still look as nice as possible. But I would rather you try to manipulate the type in this fashion than by simply doing this. This I don't really want to see. Okay? See how this is just all stretched and it looks ugly? This is what I would call grossly distorted. This E is intentionally elongated on the bottom hook. So that would be the difference. This one I don't want. This one I'm fine with you attempting to do that kind of stuff. Okay. If you have some text and you would like to just space the letters out, that's this box right here. Positive numbers space the text out, the letters out equally. Negative numbers squash them together. And again, you can type any number you want in this box and it can go well past 200. That's called tracking. 0 would be regular amount of space between each letter form. Okay? If you wanted to pop one of these letters up, you could do that as well. That is going to be, I have to go under these 3 bars and say show options. Now I get some more choices. So I can rotate one letter individually. If I needed to, I can pop one letter up or one letter down if I wanted to. This is going to be, again, to distort the letters. I don't really want you to use these. I would like you to try to do it by hand. So let's try to keep the percents at 100 and 100. Okay, I think hopefully that answered your question about how to manipulate some of the type and how to use this characters panel to do a lot of the lifting for you. One last thing you can do is, again, if you needed this last line of text super, super, super bold, you can always add a stroke to the text as well. And if I make the stroke black, it will look just like even thicker text. And you can affect the stroke in the properties panel, or if you have your stroke panel open, the larger the weight, you can see what happens there. So if you do something more subtle, like you can even do like a half a point, like 0.5. Something like that might be just enough to get maybe a not so thick bold to be just that extra bold that you were looking for. So you can always add a stroke as well. Okay, have fun. Good luck. I hope that was helpful.